Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to the Relationship Cheat Code, where we give you the game, helping you to stress less and experience your absolute best in your relationship. This right here is my delectable, my incredible, my beautiful, my sensational, my spectacular, my indelible, my edible wife.
I know you. Edible. And this right here, this is my homie, my boo baby, my dapper, debonair, confidant, my protector, my ride or die. Ayise.
Yes.
What's up, boo?
What's up, baby? How you feeling today?
I am a little sleepy.
You a little sleepy?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I just ate before this. You know how you eat and you just like, and then I got this blanket on.
Got the fireplace going.
Real cozy. The fireplace behind me. I'm like, I could just start rocking like I'm, you rocking in a rocking chair. Just go to sleep. But this will not be a sleepy episode.
No,
okay?
indeed.
I'm sleepy, but this is about to be on a whole nother level because
Yes, it is.
When my husband shared with me some of the things that he's just noticed and some things that have been, in his mind, and what he wanted to bring forward today on the podcast, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So, when I think about the work that we do, so for those that don't know, we're trained therapists and relationship coaches, and we got a whole community of people that we work with on a regular basis. And so we see relationship dynamics over and over and over again, not just in our relationship, but in other folks' relationship as well. And so we're helping people continuously navigate certain spaces and overcome and become better people. That's cool, y'all. That's definitely cool. But one of the things that jump out at me is the frustration that some dudes be experiencing and some women be experiencing when they're doing the work, but the work is not being recognized.
What you mean? Like, what does that even mean? Doing the work?
Doing the work, so this episode right here is going to be talking about really taking your man, taking your woman for granted. Yes. And I'm lifting this up because, again, what I've seen is that just in conversations that I have with the brothers, I know the dudes a lot of times, they may show up a certain way in the household and be half-assed or half-hearted when it comes to engaging in a way in which their woman is requesting that they engage in. So we come up short. I've come up short in our relationship and I know brothers be coming up short. There's this other component, though, where I know dudes extend themselves and are hitting it out of the park in so many other areas. And so a lot of times when I hear brothers coming to me and talking about their issues and the challenges that they're facing in their relationship, it's like, I got this whole stack of things that I'm doing right, but she's nitpicking about this one particular thing right here. And so I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated about the fact, I feel as though I'm leveling up in this space right here. And yes, I'm coming up short in this other area, and I'm not being appreciated for what it is that I'm doing in all these other areas. And so I feel like my contribution over here is being taken for granted because all you focus on is what's happening over here. And so there's a disconnect and there's some tension that is existing in the relationship because you ain't giving me my kudos. You ain't giving me my props. You're not seeing me for who I am. You just want to see the shit that you say I'm presenting to you, and not necessarily seeing the success and the contributions that I'm giving to you day in and day out. So
yeah. I mean, I can't say that I disagree. I was like when you were talking, I was thinking like, well, if you would do the damn thing you're supposed to do that you ain't been doing, or that you've been whatever, messing around and faking with it, not following through on or whatever, then she wouldn't have nothing, or he wouldn't have nothing. We're not just saying this is women or men to focus in on, but that was just my reflex. I mean, I think it is true that oftentimes it's not the focusing on the issue at hand that becomes the entire problem. It's not actually acknowledging what's going right.
Yeah.
So that's why we say all the time, y'all. We say all the time in our community. We say it all the time with one another. You got to focus on what's right. You got to be like, dang, let me scan my relationship. Let me scan my day. Let me look at the week. Let me look at the quarter we've been having. Let me look at 2023, or the first few months of 2024 or whatever, right? Let me look at my life and actually look for where things are going well with my boo. You know what I mean? Like where they have shifted, how they acknowledged me the other day, how they did this, how they did that. I think something as simple as feeling like you are appreciated. If you have a husband or a wife who really doesn't say thank you, for the things you do. And there's never a thank you. They just kind of expect that you're going to do it. You've been there. You've been doing it. You know what I mean? That can become heavy. And I think it's that lack of appreciation that really makes things funky. Because I don't think that people are trying to, put out energy to say, like, I don't really, see all that you have to offer and I'm just trying to take you for granted. I don't think people recognize it. I don't think people realize it.
And they don't.
And I think people just kind of get stuck in whatever the funkiness is.
And so we're here to disrupt that stuckness. We're here to disrupt the automatic tendency to gravitate towards the negative. I'm here to let you know that you're so preoccupied on focusing on the stank that, again, you're not seeing the successes and what's shining in your relationship. And so more specifically, like, ladies, y'all are taking your men in many instances for granted. And in doing that, what you're doing is you're pushing him out the door. You're pushing them out the door. And I'm lifting this up because, again, I'm having one-on-one conversations with brothers. I'm talking to men and I'm speaking with them specifically about the fact that, like, I'm doing this, I'm trying this, I'm doing that. She don't see this. She just wants to complain. She wants to nag. And all I'm hearing is about the negatives. And so, but what about all of the wonderful things that I'm doing? You would rather be in a relationship with this raggedy ass dude over here than this good dude that you got because I'm not leveling up in this one space right here. And so, and it doesn't mean that this one space is significant, but you would rather deal with the bullshit and trying to find somebody else new.
So let me push back a little bit. So what does, because I know, in our community, we have a men's lounge that happens twice a month, a sister circle that happens twice a month, of many things that happen in the community. But so when y'all are talking about this stuff, right? I mean, I ain't trying to get all up in y'all.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the what we talk about. Like, that's behind the locked door and it's sealed up tight. Right? You're not getting.
I don't need your details, but I just want to know, like, so what do y'all, because in our community, what we talk about, right, is you come in with whatever you come in with. It's a safe space. You can vent, you can share. We're going to validate you, and we're going to give you feedback, and there's going to be accountability all at one time. So I'm curious to know when those conversations are happening, and while you may be validating, and y'all are all, what y'all be doing, like, oh yeah, whatever y'all be doing, like, I know you be on my nerves or whatever you be saying, right? What is there from you, from any of the men, right? Like, anybody that says, so fellas, I hear you and I definitely understand, but why are we so fixated on what we think she's doing in terms of focusing on this one particular area, and we want to, say, well, we got this, and this. Why? What? Is there a disconnect? Like, why is it difficult for us to understand the gravity of whatever the issue is that your wife has brought forward or your partner has brought forward? Why is it something that's not sticking with us? Like, why is this such a problem area? Why are we like slow to understand? I mean, I'm wondering, do y'all have that kind of conversation? Because on one hand, I certainly have seen women do this. I've seen men do it too, but I have to be honest that I've seen it more with women, where there is kind of rattling off the issues, right? I see men do it, but less so. And if they do, it's not they're not as many things. And so I think that's a little bit about like how, because of how men and women are like wired, or, and that kind of thing. But and it just makes me think about, like, I know there's been times where I've like, given you some feedback and I've said something, maybe something about, how you're dealing with the kids, or, I want you to do something differently with me. I don't remember anything off the top of my head right now, but I do know for sure when it's been like with the kids and I'm giving you feedback, you'll at times you have gone into like, I mean, but I do this and this and this and this and this and like, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I know. And so I literally had to start, and I don't do it 100% of the time, but I definitely know for a period of time, I was really, really intentional about saying, so I just want you to know, I am not making commentary on you as a father, you know, as a whole, right? Like, I'm not saying that you're not this, and this, right? I had to do all of that. Like, I have to prepare you for what I'm sharing with you. And I don't have to do that for everything, but for that particular area, I feel like I had to do that more. So what is that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are there some areas that y'all are just resistant in? Like, do you find that there are certain themes or certain areas where y'all just like, why are you looking at that? Just, it's almost like y'all want to say, look over there. Look over there at all them things. Don't look at this one over here, these two over here. No, if it's impacting me, I get to be impacted, and I get to tell you, and you get to be a grown up. And I mean, that's facts. Like, appropriately, not be like, get up off me. Although I understand, but I still feel like what are y'all talking about? Like, what?
So I'm gonna address that in 1 second. Okay. I can assure you that there's definitely accountability.
Okay.
But when you say that you get to be impacted, the question that I have, and that a lot of men have, is why is it that you're always impacted? Why is it that there's always a problem? Why is it that there's always something to be fixed? And why is it that it feels like I'm always the project? And so I feel like you're focused on me, but you ain't focused on you. And so if you were to look at yourself half as much, maybe even a tenth as much as you look at me and say what I need to do and what I need to improve, then maybe, you know, the more you focus on yourself, I'll see that, and I might even start to step up in certain ways. And so a lot of men feel like you're preoccupied with what I am and what I'm not doing, but you're not giving half as much attention to what you need to be doing. So can you please back up? I've heard a lot of men, I've even expressed this to you. Like, why do you always have to have a project? Like, why do you always have to have something to do? Why does it have to be a challenge? Like, why can't you just be? Why can't you just be? And so we feel like, because y'all are unsettled.
Yeah. I remember that
you're trying to displace your discontent onto us.
Yeah.
That dis-ease that's happening internally, like you're placing that on us, and you're trying to have us reconcile what's going on inside of you by doing work that you want us to do on us.
Oh, okay, this is good. Let me tell you why this is good. Because there's two things. So I definitely know what you're talking about. Because we were in therapy years ago, and whatever I was complaining about, upset about, the therapist was able to validate quite a bit. But at one point she was like, Iana, some of this sounds like it's a you thing, right? Like, you are unsettled. You are kind of wrestling with some things. And so and we talked about this recently, I don't know if it was in office hours or in Sister Circle. We talked about the fact, and I've heard many women say this, that our men do not move at the same pace as we do. Y'all just don't. And that's not a judgment. It's just a thing. And a lot of times we're moving a little faster. And so we have to accept the pace at which you all move. We have to accept that in some areas you just don't see the value in the movement at this point in your life, right? Like, we all got to evolve at our own paces, right? So I was able to receive that at that time, and recognize, okay, I can get some freedom, some weight up off of me by just focusing in on myself and what I need and what needs to be different, and not make it about you, and that I am kind of putting some things on you that are just for me to wrestle with, and to deal with. However, I want to know from you, what does a sister do when she's dealing with this?
I need to answer your other question too.
Okay. But she comes into the community, our Blam Core community. She's coming in, she's upset, she's frustrated, she's dealing with so much stuff. It's heavy. They're either overcoming communication issues or betrayal, or infidelity, or, just disconnect, right? We just roommates now, whatever the thing is. And so she comes in And this is the pathway of most of the people who come into our community. There is a mindset shift that has to take place, and they come into the culture of what happens in our community. And whether you're talking to me or my husband or to another member, or there's a training, or you're inside of the Blam University portal, doesn't matter. People will say, "Well, what about? Did you think about yourself? You know, what would you say you need to pay attention to? Don't worry about him." I mean, if you have not been in that kind of a place, to hear somebody tell you not to worry about your husband, and you coming in here to talk about the issues with your husband, we say, don't even think about him. Let's just think about the issues as you are experiencing them, and let's just talk about you and how you're dealing with that. Doesn't mean you don't have to interact with your husband, doesn't mean you don't have to address some things with your husband, but it's not because of your husband. You think about what you need, right, and where you need to grow, and all those things. That is a mindset shift for your ass if you have not been in that place. So people come in and then they start to get into a groove. Man, I hear this all the time. Man, I thought Blam Core was, for relationships, and it is. But it's for me. Like I was coming in here to get my relationship together, but I got myself together. I didn't realize how much I needed to work on. And it's not just, hitting myself and my husband at points in time, but in so many of my relationships, right? But then there's another sister, there's another woman, and she comes in, she goes to the same mindset shift, she gets the same awarenesses, the same ahas, she does work on herself, she starts to journal, she comes to the sister circle, she signs up for a class, she comes to some local meetups, she does all the things. I'm doing it through the context of our community, but it could be in any place in the world, right? But she's doing her personal work. And when she look over her husband, and she pointed at that thing, that y'all like, because I'm a good dude. Why is that the greatest deflection of all time? I'm a good dude. Don't nobody motherfucker. I'm like, okay, we expect for you to be a good dude. You don't get a cookie because you're a good dude, right? And because she points at that, there is a dynamic for certain couples where she's looking to you because she's growing. And she's moving and she's getting into a different level of like awareness about herself, about her needs, about the things. So she's sharing with you some of the things she's discovering on her journey. She wants you to be interested and she knows that y'all are not the same, but she wants you to have at least some level of interest in her. And so if you're interested in me as your wife, as your spouse, right, then there has to be maybe some effort that you put forward, right, to show up for me, even if you're not about all of this personal development, relationship, tell your feelings, get in touch with your feelings stuff. And there are men who are just sitting, and here's the thing, if she never brought it up, it would never come up. If she never, and what am I telling them? Put it on the table. Put it on the table. Put it on the table. Because we can't sit around here waiting on you to put it on the table. So yes, there are women who are, not focusing on themselves and are doing a lot of displacing. But then there's another level to this where folks are, and usually it's a mixed bag, right? Like it's not like we all are just growing beautifully in, proper order per se. There are times when we out of pocket and we're displacing stuff. And the other times where we've really been intentional about pulling back and about, making room, but then we're also putting some stuff out here, because if I just sit and wait, I can't tell you how many women tell me, I don't know that we would ever bring up the issues. I think that we would just go on in our marriage year after year after year, week after week, month after month, and never talk about the thing. It will never come up.
Yeah.
We will never be in a place where we will get to a place where we have explored some of this funky stuff and really gotten it out on the table so that, I can sit back in my husband's arms with ease and he can just hold me. And we know there is nothing between us that has not been said. I don't think I'll ever arrive there. I don't even know if some men even desire to be there. I don't even know if they know that that's a place to go, to be with your woman and say there's nothing really that has not been said between us. Not that there's not more to discover, but in terms of the stuff we've been through, in terms of the bumps we've had, but there's really not a whole lot more that needs to be said because we've done the thing. And that's a process. That's a journey. But if I'm bringing this up every time all by myself, if I'm asking, hey, did you want to read the book, or did you look at the video, or you know what I'm saying, wherever, they're having marriage ministry tonight, or the Blamley is having a conference, like if I'm and it's always heavy as hell, I gotta do a heavy lift and figure out how to bring it up, and I know that when I say it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, and then I'm gonna have to bring it up again because you ain't gonna say nothing again. That is a lot. And that's a lot to be carrying. And I don't know if the men really recognize that you can make the load easier if you would just pick your half up. I mean, really, because there are women who put some stuff down and you still don't pick it up. Still don't pick it up.
Wow.
Because we would just rather avoid and not talk about it.
Hey, what's up, y'all? So we know you're enjoying the episode, but check this out, y'all. We're not just any old random couple that's coming on YouTube every week just giving relationship suggestions and stuff like that. We're way more than that, y'all. We're trained therapists and relationship coaches. This right here is my beautiful, incredible, sensational wife, Iana.
And this right here is my dapper, debonair husband, Ayize. So y'all, we just want you to know that there is more. We don't want you to just be a spectator. We want you to get in here with us and join our community. We have all kind of folks who are doing their personal work, their relationship work. We have sister circles and men's lounges and trainings, and we address all kinds of things from infidelity to disconnection to communication issues and sex and intimacy issues. Look, the solution is at blandcore.com. Join us.
Yeah.
I mean, this is true.
This is true. And so to answer your earlier question about what are we talking about inside of the men's lounge, inside of
Please, do tell.
our gender specific space.
Why you had to say gender specific space after men's lounge?
There's definitely accountability. And so there is.
We need to switch. I need to come to the men's lounge.
I think you and I should switch.
We should switch.
Yeah, we should switch.
I'm over there because I'm not holding nothing back.
Don't hold no punches back. Like the men are here
it's
for.
always a safe space.
Yeah.
But I'm just y'all really want to know what it is. I mean, I'm for the men. I know how women be, but I also know how y'all be too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot of stuff going on.
So here's the thing. So there is accountability. So of course, you're getting the accountability from me, but you're also getting the accountability from the brothers as well. And so if you come in there with some old BS, then we're going to smell it, and then we're going to call you on it. We're going to ask questions to lead you to a place of greater insight, understanding, clarity, and we're going to challenge you to take the next step. We're going to ask you like what that next move is. We're going to challenge you to verbalize it, and then the next time that we come back together, we're going to see whether or not you met that benchmark. And so this is happening on a regular basis. It's not a patty cake festival. It's not the Amen Corner. There is support, but there's also that rugged accountability that's there as well too. And so that's what we do inside of that space. It's a safe space, but what also makes it a safe and dope space is the fact that we get to be ourselves, and at the same time too, we get to be called on our stuff in a respectful way. So that's what we do in that space. Like I'll never forget, I mean, there's been a number of times that this has happened, but sometimes dudes come in and they want to shuck and jive and really engage from a space of woe is me and it's all about her. And our motto inside of our community is relationship work is personal work. And so I'm always bringing that back to the forefront. And I've seen in a number of situations in which the dude just has not been able to see himself. And so I'll ask questions. He won't see himself. He'll go back to her. Somebody else will ask a question. He won't take ownership. He'll go back to her. Somebody will ask, maybe even me specifically, will say, what have you done or what have you not done? And he'll still go back to her. And so the conversation always goes back to her. And so what we have to lift up to him is the fact that there's a certain level of emotional disconnect and lack of self-awareness where whenever we're asking you about you, you automatically go to her. That right there requires a different level of growth. And so, again, we're pointing that back to him, but it's easier for him to hear from me in many instances than it would be to hear from a woman because he's in a negative space with a woman. And we as men, like, we want you to win. And so we're trying to give you the game on how to win. But it's not going to be, like I say, we ain't going to be doing like, just dapping you up and broing you up the whole time. It's going to be, bruh, this is what you need to do differently. And so in that space, that's what we do is I'm going to give you the dap. I'm going to give you the hug, but I'm going to also give you the push to look at yourself and to do something different.
So am I, brought forward in terms of this cycle that happens with some folks where really if she never brought something up, I mean, you probably would just let that thing fizzle and go away. And then if she brought it up like 6 months later, he'd be like, I thought we was over that. We ain't talked about it. I thought we was good. Right? Well, we haven't said anything about it. I brought it up over and over again and you just kept avoiding it. So then what you don't want to do, sis, is then just tap out and say, forget it. Right? Because now it's still sitting in your spirit and it ain't never going to go away until you address it. Whatever we resist, it persists. Whatever we look at, it slowly disappears. And so, that's not the way to go. But I'm just curious as to what is that? Because I do think that women, not as a rule, because women and men we don't want to engage in gender stereotyping, but I do see this dynamic a lot where women can be very kind of laser focused on these things and what's happening, and men are and some men can just be kind of pulling back, and it almost feels as though there's like can we just get away from talking about this, or can I get away with not getting into this? Like there's just a constant avoidance.
So you have different men. So and I'll get into that, brother, right there. Yeah. So that's one category. But what I'll say is overall, men don't necessarily have a problem with talking about it. They just don't want it to be the only thing that they talk about. And so what it feels like is that you're bringing this issue up and it becomes the center of attention, and there's only enough space for you to hold that at the center of attention. So we're always focused on this thing. And so your retort would be, well, if we would have just have a conversation about it and deal with it, then we can then move on to the next thing. And so then what I would respond and say is that there's always a next thing. And so there's always something that you're placing on my table, placing on my lap to talk about on your time. And so I'm always on your clock. Now, do we as men have a responsibility as well to show up and bring stuff up and not just say we're going to talk about it, but then come back and actually do it? The answer is absolutely yes. I do think that we have to be more structured. It's not that we don't care. I think that we don't necessarily prioritize the things that are difficult and uncomfortable for us to do, specifically when it comes to having these more extensive conversations, which is why people come into our community to get structure, to get the opportunity to help them with establishing the parameters, the guidelines, the framework. And so we as men, we need more of that formality, that structure in order to engage in some of these conversations that y'all want us to engage in. And then when it comes to doing the things, it's not that we don't want to do it in a lot of instances. Some brothers just don't want to do it, but it's not. Things? We talking about the things. So whatever it is that you're saying, like, I want you to pay this bill. I want you to take the kid here. I want you to cut their hair. I want you to cut the grass. I want you to, whatever it might be. I want you to get the oil change. Whatever the thing is. I
want you to spend time with me. You did a whole bunch of tasks.
Yeah.
But a lot of times women are asking, I want you to spend time with me. Can you plan a date? Can we actually, spend more time together in the house, outside the house? Can we go to church together? Can we have a more substantive conversation? Can we talk about that sideways phone call that came in a month ago that we have not been able to have a real honest conversation about? Those are the kinds of things I think a lot of times that women are wanting.
Yeah. And
why are you smiling?
No, I mean, because I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I'm just thinking about some of the fellas that I've conversed with around things similar to this. Like, I make it plain and I give examples. And I try to instruct them around like what it looks like for you to spend the quality time, for you to really pay attention, for you to woo your woman and woo your wife, and for you to be connected in.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. A lot of men feel, they hear the request, but in hearing the request, sometimes it feels like you're devaluing my contribution.
Okay.
So you want me to spend time with you. I'm out here working for us. And so I'm not that I necessarily need you to pat me on the back and applaud me and all of that type of stuff, but sometimes when I hear that I'm not spending quality time with you, it sounds like you're saying I'm not doing nothing for you. And so again, we gotta fine tune and adjust our hearing, and there needs to be additional clarity in the communication. But that's sometimes what we feel like. I'm doing all of this stuff,
And that goes back to what I was saying about when I would give you feedback around the kids and some things that I thought you need to do differently. That I realized we kept having these bumps in the conversation.
Yeah.
We would just go left and we wouldn't really get anywhere. But I realized, okay, I have to tell him about 3-4 things that he is doing.
it's that 5-to-1 ratio.
And to tell you, I think you're great with this and I think you're great with that, so that you understand I'm not, giving commentary on your whole self.
Yeah.
5-to-1. Tell me about 5-to-1.
Yeah, it's that 5. I mean, studies have shown that for every negative comment or engagement, you want to make sure that you have 5 positive interactions. So the equation or the ratio is 5 positives for every 1 negative. And so, if you just remember that when you are engaging with your man or engaging with your woman, then that can set you up for communication success.
Yeah.
It really can. And so, we as men,
People don't really, they hear that stuff. Like I know our members hear that, but I don't know that people really track for it.
Yeah.
Do you track for 5-to-1 really means that, okay, I really got something I need to talk to my husband about because I'm really, irritated about this situation right here. It's a Wednesday at 12 in the afternoon. Let me pause for a minute and let me think about what our interactions have been like over the past week or just this week.
yeah.
Like have we had positive interactions? Have I given him some level of kudos? Have I said thank you? Have I said I've appreciated him? Have I just gone over to him and it's not always verbal. It's just coming over and touching on his head and giving him some body, you know what I mean? Get up on him a little bit. Whatever that is, we have to actually think about that. And if that hasn't been happening, trust and believe that even your level of irritation is probably more enhanced because you have not had those connections and those positive kind of interactions. And he's also not going to be as open because that's always something that is in the background. You got to have that foundation of the 5-to-1.
And you think that
you gotta circumvent and be like, I'm gonna have to hold off on this until I come back and do, or I gotta be really intentional. If it's not something I can hold off on, let me be really intentional and say, I was thinking about this, but I really want to make sure because this last week, these last few days, we actually haven't been connecting as much, and I want to make sure that you know that I appreciate you. Boom, 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 boom. Do all of that, and then share your feedback.
Yeah, I mean, just as much as you all may think that 5-to-1 ratio is for them, it's really for you.
Yes, it is.
Because what it does is it sets you,
Softens you
up in a softened, energetic paradigm where you're able to really take stock of and evaluate and really value your relationship in the way it needs to be valued. And so again, you're prioritizing the good in which you see that's going right over what's going wrong.
That's right.
And so I definitely encourage people to incorporate that. And so again, it's not that men don't want to talk. It's just that we feel like we always got something that we're supposed to be talking about. And so for that brother who is just not doing anything, and you keep on repeatedly lifting it up that this needs to be done, that needs to be done. We already gave the 5-to-1 ratio, but on the flip side, we have a responsibility as men.
Yeah.
And so as men, we have a responsibility that if your woman is lifting it up, and it's been more than once, if it's been repeated, then it feels like you're minimizing, you're diminishing, you're devaluing her request. And so you got a responsibility to step up and do the damn thing that you said that you was going to do. It's giving childish behavior to say you're going to do something over and over again and then not do it.
Giving you don't care.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, yo, I'm going to do what I want to do and I'm prioritizing me and what you would like to see. And real talk, fellas, a lot of times the women be trying to incorporate stuff and do things for the betterment of you, for the betterment of y'all. And so it's not even like they on some type of selfish tip, but you're responding in a selfish way when really they're thinking about you and trying to improve the overall quality of the relationship as a whole. They're not really trying to come for you. They're trying to go with you. And so we got to shift the way in which we're viewing this thing because we cock blocking ourselves. We getting in the way of ourselves in terms of really perceiving it through the lens of she's out to get me. She always got something to say. And I know it feels that way. And so even in our relationship, it felt like that way at times, but I had to be intentional about really taking a step back and saying, is my woman against me or is she for me? And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of the things that you do is for us. You know, and a lot of the stuff that you do, real talk, is for me. And so I think that we as men, we got to do a better job at appreciating that and recognizing it for the way in which it shows up. At the same time, I will say that when it comes to this whole piece around taking, people for granted, this is where men, definitely take their women for granted. Like, women will extend themselves. Women will make the phone calls. Women will show up for the appointments. Women will show up in court. Women will take the women. Yeah, women will have your back. Women will take the children that ain't even theirs and make sure that they squared away. Even if you stepped out, then make sure that the children are squared away. So women will definitely show up and have your back. And even with them having your back, you still do them dirty. That's not right. That's not right. And so again, we have a responsibility to step up and to show up in a different way in our relationships with our women, because like, they deserve more and they deserve better.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, I just want to echo, I pushed back a little bit. Just like, okay, well, what about when the woman is doing this and doing, paying attention to herself and her growth and also trying to make room for you, and you still just sitting there, right? If you heard something that came down your lane with that, then you need to pay attention to that. But I do want to echo what you said at the start, which is, there are people, not just women, men, but there are people who really are stuck in a negative ass space. Yeah. They just really are. And so I just want to lift up that the way for that to be disrupted is to do some of the stuff that we've talked about already, doing that 5-to-1, doing the stuff you don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like paying attention to the things that you don't always want to pay attention to. Yeah. I have had many conversations with women over the years, and as I learn more about their background and I learn more about what they've experienced as a young person, whether it be abuse or neglect, just some kind of childhood trauma, as I learn more about their background, I'm like, the dots start to connect. So I can see more clearly now why you perceive the things that your husband is doing and not doing the way you do, and why the experience of it hits you in your gut and almost takes your breath away so much, because you're not just experiencing the thing, you're experiencing the reliving of the hurt, the neglect, the not feeling loved as a young person. And that's still in you, and that hasn't been worked out and hasn't been resolved. And I had these conversations with women. They look at me, whether we sitting at a conference, we just having lunch, or we in a session. And they're like, yeah, some of them are like, I know, that's my story. I know that that's like a part of why I feel the way I feel, or why I see things the way I see things. Some of them didn't have any awareness, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never knew. And I can tell you that many of those women, not all, but many of those women today, they do the same thing. They respond the same way. They experience the same trigger. They get the awareness, but they don't do anything to focus in on, how do I start to become responsible and accountable for what I'm feeling? Because, nobody, I know you know this, boo, nobody can make you feel anything. I know that's one of the things that you don't really want to hear, because like, come on, like we ain't got time for all of that. But it's really real. Like whatever you experience in your relationship or period in life, it just triggers things that are already inside of you. So if you already have a heavy load of neglect, if you already have a heavy load of abandonment, when your partner doesn't follow through, absolutely you should be upset. Absolutely you should feel some type of way. But that abandonment piece that comes in and strikes you in your heart, it's a whole nother level. And so the way that you show up in your relationship is impacted by all of this baggage and this background stuff. And so I just want to say to anyone, and I'm going to talk to women because that's where I see it the most. who finds himself stuck in a place of desiring, wanting, you're not doing, you're not giving, you're not this, you're not that, you've got to really do your work. Because I promise you that the intensity of the way you experience it will lessen and you'll have better perspective over time the more you heal. And I promise you that the more that your perspective starts to shift and you're able to ebb and flow a little bit more, the energy in your relationship starts to shift. Your partner starts to feel that, as much as you might feel rejected, they also perhaps feel rejected and don't feel accepted because they can't quite get things together. And so some of that is just that energetic work that you have to do. And it's just a healing thing. It's a purging. It's a deep place you got to go to. It's a get on your knees and pray about it type of thing. And I just think that kind of stuff, having an awareness and continuing to move the same way in your relationship, be it man, be it woman, is irresponsible and it's just unfair. It's not just unfair to your partner. It's unfair to you because now you know better. But you got to learn how to do better.
Yeah, and the thing that stands out to me, because I hear it from men, especially men who are doing their work, that you as a woman, you're hurting, but it's because of your hurt that you're hurting him. And so you're placing all of this responsibility and weight on what he should do and how he should show up differently. But really, it's you trying to reconcile and resolve and work it out through focusing on him. But the reality is that once you start to move toward a more healed space, then some of that healing will ease up the focus that you have on him, and you won't hurt him like you used to hurt him.
Come on, you won't even have the same needs. The needs you used to have when you were in a less healed place, they don't even look the same because you're not the same person. Some things have been mended in you. You've gone to God on some things and you've gotten not just insight, but really some for real healing. And so you don't need the same level of validation. You don't need the same kind of, am I okay? Am I important? Am I good enough? Am I pretty? You already know it on the inside. And so when your husband gives it to you, it's just icing. But when we don't have that at our core on some level, and I think all of us deal with this in some way, shape, or form. It's not like I'm so evolved or the next person's so evolved, right? But I am evolving. And the question to ask, are you evolving? Or are you sitting with an empty tank and looking for your relationship, your partner to fill it all the way up? And whatever they pour in can't even hit the bottom of your tank. It can't even go to your gut. It can't even get into your heart because you have to fill yourself up first. It will only mesh with your stuff. You got to have something in there first, and then you feel it differently from your spouse because you believe him. When he say he love you, you believe him because you know you're lovable. Because you love yourself. He says, man, you're gorgeous. Wow, you believe him. When he doesn't speak that way and he doesn't use those words because he ain't fancy like that, but he does it in a way he does it, you appreciate it. And you see it and you accept that that's how he communicates. And you don't want him to be something different because he still looks at you or gives you energy to show you, God, I love you. But he may not say a poem. He might go get that plate or go to the store and pick this up for you or come over to you and say, you doing all right? Or, you know what I'm saying? He may not be fancy.
Yeah.
And it's all good, but you'll be able to receive that better because you're healed in a different way, or you are better healed. You're better healed.